There you go.
Hello everybody, it's Anthony Bianis from the Mission Start Podcast. I'm here with our special guest, Roger Craig Smith.
What's up? How are you?
So Roger, as far as I want to know, actually I want to say, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely, thank you.
And thank you for doing this interview with us.
Absolutely, thanks.
You've done so many voice acting in your career. What has influenced you, or what got you into voice acting?
Well, I got into it. I was doing stand-up comedy through college, and a bunch of people kept sort of throughout the years asking, hey, do you do voiceovers? Are you represented for voiceover, that kind of thing? And I was always saying, I don't really know anything about it, but I'm trying to do stand-up comedy. And then finally, it just got to the point where so many people were saying, you should really look into this, and they weren't really making many more comments about my comedy per se, that I kind of started to think, okay, maybe I should take everybody's advice and go look into this. And so I got online and started looking for classes, and I think I called an agency or two and said, do you guys recommend anything for voice training, that kind of thing? And heard about a class up in Burbank and went to the class, and from there I just gave it a shot. Basically, I was in my little local town, my local region. I started sending out really terrible demos to little mom and pop post-production places, that kind of thing, and just started cutting my teeth. So sort of, I guess a lot of people usually hear it from someone else, that hey, you should look into it, or if you're like a fan of cartoons and you really want to work in that business, then you might start it that way. But for me, I was doing characters and voices on stage, and people just started saying, hey, you should look into this. That's how I got started. I really didn't know too much. I mean, I knew cartoon voices and stuff like that growing up, but I didn't really find myself thinking, that's what I want to do someday. I never really gave it a thought, and all of a sudden I stumbled into it and love it. Yeah, it's like a perfect little thing.
Very nice. For people aspiring to be in your position, do you have any advice for people who want to get into the voice acting career?
I guess, a lot of people, that's a very common question. A lot of people say, how do you get started? And I could never begin to tell you, well, here's what you want to do, because this is the book on how to make it happen. Because everybody's got their own sort of unique story about how it started to kind of take off. But I definitely think, like anything that you want to do starting in life, if you're here and you want to go there, if there's classes offered, or if there's any sort of an approach with education, to what it is that you want to achieve, you got to go there. So I would recommend if you're in sort of a rural area but you still want to learn about it. I know they have lots of online classes for voice acting. I've heard of some different community centers offering classes, and there's a lot of resources available if you just go out and look for it. Excuse me. But I would definitely recommend starting with a class and just kind of learning the ropes of the terminology, the jargon that's used between a director and an actor, a producer and an actor, all that stuff. So go out and get yourself a class to begin with, and it'll also kind of open your eyes to what it's like. I think a lot of people think it's... for me, I was shocked, because I was doing stand-up comedy at the time, and was able to get up and be on a stage in front of 300 or 1,000 strangers, and try to tell jokes and be the guy who's in command. And my heart rate was, I'd get nice and anxious before the shows, and then boom, you hit the stage, and you're like, all right, we're running. And all of a sudden, my first time in a voiceover booth, just at one of the classes, I couldn't control my heart rate. It was so strange, and I was sitting there thinking, why am I nervous now, in this tiny little enclosed booth? But it's really sort of, for me, it was unsettling, and so the training was kind of like a big eye-opener for me to kind of go, oh, okay, this is a little different than I thought it was going to be. And so all that stuff really helps you in just sort of learning the ropes. You begin to hear the terminology that's used, and you kind of go, okay, I see how this business works, and I got to do lines over and over and over again. It's not because I'm terrible, it's because they need coverage, or it's because they want a different performance, and all those things can sometimes really crush your ego if you're not ready for what's going on. So I would recommend to kind of get started, look for any sort of a class, any sort of a resource that can give you some sort of training in what's involved in voiceover, because it's not all just video games, it's not all just animation or anime or any of that stuff that we do. There's so many different facets to the business that a class is really going to kind of help you open up to, okay, I need to learn this, this, and this if I want to go there. I would just say start with classes, and then from there you'll learn a lot. You'll find out if it's really what you want to do. Because for me it was kind of, like I said, it was an eye opener. All of a sudden I went, oh, okay, I need to figure some stuff out here. Which which was strange because I thought, well, I'm just going to go in and be funny and it's going to be brilliant and I'm going to get a job. No, it was not that way at all. It's like you go in and you're like, I'm going to be so funny with this, and then they go, yeah, that was terrible. We want to do it again and do it like this. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, okay, So classes is probably your best bet. And there's a ton of books out there. There's a ton of research. Yuri Lowenthal and Sarah Platt have a book that you should look into. But all that stuff, just educate yourself. Like I said, I'm fortunate enough to be in Southern California where there's an infinite number of choices as far as classes and education. Like I say, if you're not near like a large metropolitan area where there's a lot of that stuff available, look for books, look for CDs, look for everything you can, and just kind of gain as much knowledge and information as you can, and then eventually go out and just fall on your face, learn, and cut your teeth. You gotta eventually just get out and give it a shot. So.
Nice, awesome. You've done so many roles with video games and anime. Have you ever taken the time to really kind of watch the anime that you're voiced in? Also, like, have you seen friends or people play the games that you're voicing too?
Absolutely. With anime, I always set my DVR for any of the shows that I've been a part of. I always try to make sure that I can see how, because sometimes you don't realize. Thank you. Sometimes you don't realize how it's going to sort of play off until you see it, and it's because sometimes we're seeing stuff without the production added in, with music, sound effects, that kind of thing. And I also just want to see, am I picking up on something I'm doing that I don't think is good for the character, and maybe I could suggest that the next time I'm in the booth. Say hey, I'm noticing that I might be developing a bad habit here. But as far as hearing yourself in anime or seeing your character, in his finished scenes, and by all means playing your character in a video game never gets old. So with everybody heard me say with Chris Redfield, I had such a blast just because that was a partner-based game, the RE5. That if I was playing with friends, I would keep hitting my B button, and so Chris is saying, come on, and then Sheva, if whoever's playing with me would hit their B button, and she would eventually get around to saying, Roger, and I was like, yeah, that's my name. So I was irritating all my buddies because I would just keep going come on, hey, come on, Roger, I'm like, yeah, okay. And with that, I sat there, and for about a week straight, I did nothing but play Assassin's Creed 2, and beyond, the thrill of being able to voice this character, it's such a great game. I had just a ton of fun playing it, and all of a sudden I'd be watching a cutscene or whatever, all these things that I just go in and voice but don't really get to see at the time. I'd be watching a cutscene and I would forget. All of a sudden I'd be like, whoa, he'd say something in Italian, I was like, did I say that? It's I don't know what I said. So yeah, it never gets old. It's a blast, and it's it's one of the nicest things about this job, getting to go in, do some work, next thing you know, you get to see it. So wow, what a trip. Okay, that's cool. It's neat. It's really gratifying.
Go get them back for me, Ezio.
You have my word. I think I may enjoy this mission.
It must be, because Assassin's Creed 2 was such an acclaimed game. It was everybody loved it, as well as RE5.
Oh, of course. Critics? What? No, everything we do is brilliant. It's beyond criticism.